Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Main Event Podcast, live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. My name is Jez. I'm joined, I say as always, but it's weird being a first, but also a thing that's just continued for ages. You get my meaning. I'm joined, as I always am, on anything wrestling related, by my good friend, Dan, who is adorning the wonderful, but now out of date, main roster championship belt.
Oh yeah, I don't now, innit?
Yeah. We've got some work to do there, and a few things need to mix up. But yes, as you noticed at the beginning, there are new graphics for the new name of this show. No longer the main roster, we are now the Main Event Podcast. And we're kicking things off with this past weekend's WWE Survivor Series pay-per-view. I will say 2021, just in case somebody is watching this years down the line and want to know which event it actually is. 2021.
2021, year where everyone's still moaning about COVID.
Yes, and I don't think that will change going into 2022 either, but there you go. Yeah. Retiring the belt as champion. Not so much, no.
Not really.
We're gonna plate it up. It's gonna be great.
Hopefully we can plate it up. I don't know if we can or not.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. We'll work it out. We'll do something with it anyway. But I'd like, layers on a championship belt. I feel like that looks good. So,
Stacked.
Yeah, that is exactly what I mean. Ye of the championship belt knowledge.
Yes. What gave you that idea?
No particular reason, really. I just look into your eyes and I'm like, that guy seems to know a little bit about championship belts. Perhaps he owns one or two?
Maybe a couple.
Yeah. Not an outrageous amount or anything. Not like the amount that would completely dominate a room or anything like that.
Yeah, not the amount that's not including this one, 14.
Yeah, no. Nowhere near that number, surely. No. But as we begin this new era in the Main Event Podcast, we do close out the other era. It's the last pay-per-view in this quarter of prediction competitions. I'm currently winning as we go into Survivor Series. The difference is 3. So we'll see how that comes out at the end of the night and whether I become the new Main Event Podcast champion or whether it's an and still Main Event Podcast champion.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But
we
also had a match added over the weekend, in addition to the ones that we predicted last week. We knew it would happen. We kind of predicted that such. And in celebration of The Rock's 25th anniversary of his debut at Survivor Series back in, what was that, 96? I can't math. 96 it'll be. Yeah, 96. Survivor Series 1996. They had a 25-man, see what they did there, dual-branded battle royal, supposedly for an added bit of brand supremacy competition stuff, but mainly just to fill time and pretend that they're celebrating The Rock in some way. So we predicted that outside of broadcast. Dan, you predicted that Sami Zayn would reign victorious. And I predicted that Cesaro would reign victorious. So we'll see when we get to that portion of the show who was correct there, if anyone. And we'll move swiftly into our first contest of Survivor Series, shall we?
Yes. So the first match of the event took place on the kickoff show when Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, accompanied by Rick Boogs, took on United States Champion Damian Priest. Match started off technically with Priest chaining submissions together on Nakamura, but he was distracted by the guitar playing of Boogs, and Shinsuke escaped the holds. This champion continued to wear down the King of Strong style as the match progressed, but became irritated by the continued guitar jamming of Boogs. After Priest countered a Kinshasa into a chokeslam and got a near fall, Shinsuke was locked in a Hell's Gate style maneuver and was fading until Rick Boogs played the guitar again against the warning of Priest. Damien lost it, smashed up the guitar, and hit Nakamura with it, causing a disqualification and awarding victory to Nakamura and the SmackDown brand.
Yes, interesting choice to have this as the pre-show match.
Yeah, I thought maybe the Battle Royal would possibly be on the pre-show.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking too. It was a totally thrown together, pointless kind of match idea, and so I thought that would be. This was a pretty good match, slightly inevitable in the result, if I do say so myself, as I predicted it correctly. But it was a good one. I quite enjoyed it, and it was a good way to kick off. No pun intended, with the show being called the Kickoff. I now see exactly what you were describing last week with the Damian Priest, like two sides, heaven and hell, demon and whatchamacallit thing. Have some zombie. Thanks for the host.
Some zombie.
Future Wolfington. I need to update that. I never expect people to host, so I'm like, I won't change that. What a fool I am. Yeah, so I now see the outstretched hand and the devil horns on each side. We're gonna have a run of zombies now. Zombies everywhere.
Right.
So I feel a little like an idiot for having not noticed that in the first place. It was fairly blatant, especially when you add in the giant screen behind him
doing it.
Yeah. I guess it kind of sums up how much I've been paying attention to WWE in the last kind of thing. Month.
Not very much.
No, I've tried not to pay too much attention, because otherwise I would A, have fallen asleep, or B, have got very angry. So we can't have either of those things. Part of the catalyst to switching up this show to just be the big events, to bring in some actual wrestling from some other actual wrestling companies as well.
Right.
Can we have Jeff Hardy doing a Swanton Bomb as the host notification? Because that is my favourite move. Well, we could if it was just for the main event podcast, but it will be the host notification for all Jez Show sports shows. So a Swanton Bomb won't make a hell of a lot of sense on the effing racing show, for example.
Might do.
No, it won't. Football and F1 both need Swanton Bombs, says Wolfie. Right. I'll take it under advisement. I'm not sure whose advisement, but there will definitely be some advisement going on, I would say. What about a sport that's like WWE, but it's real and they actually hit each other? That sport doesn't exist. There are no real combat sports. It's not a real thing. Unless you count Friday night outside the pub in Scotland. That is a legit contact sport. All the ones that are, televised, no, they're all fake. Every last one of them.
If you don't like WWE, don't watch it.
I mean, that is great advice. I'd love to take that advice myself, but unfortunately, we've got a podcast to do, and it's not like I don't like it either. It's just that
if you don't, I should say, if you don't like wrestling, don't watch it.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah. How about Bottas dropping a Swanton Bomb on Mazepin? Hey, if you can find me that GIF, if you can find me a GIF of Valtteri Bottas dropping a Swanton Bomb on Nikita Mazepin, then I absolutely guarantee you that will be the host notification.
There you go.
I've set you a challenge. Get out there and find it. But back to the actual match that we were discussing. Predictions. I predicted Shinsuke would win. You predicted Priest would win. So that's 1-0 to kick things off.
1-0 to you.
For me. And also we've got to keep tabs of what it means for Survivor Series, and that is also 1-0 I've got to do it the other way, haven't I? Because of weird camera thing. There you go.
There you
1-0
go.
to SmackDown.
SmackDown.
SmackDown off on a hot start.
Good.
Going out tonight. Hope that doesn't become a reality. Well, while you're here, if you get Future Wolfington to teach you the Swanton Bomb, I'm sure that'll serve you well in a street fight.
A lot of
on the streets of Scotland.
What
What will probably be like 3 or 4 degree temperatures. Nothing can go wrong there. Yeah, nothing at all. I once leaped from the top of a fence and delivered a Macho Man style elbow drop to a friend of mine while I was slightly inebriated. But I nailed it perfectly. It was perfect execution. I drove the point of my elbow directly into their ribs, and I lost my wallet. That was the only adverse effect for anyone, was that I lost my wallet. The first major thing I ever lost in my life. I had to renew my driving license and everything. It was a right pain in the butt.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
It would be a better skill to be able to determine what football team different groups of people support. Well, I don't know very much about football in Scotland, but from what I gather from my very limited knowledge, choosing a team or, announcing the team that you support in Scotland is fairly problematic, no matter where you are. So I would just go and say I like football and walk away and save yourself the hassle, It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I like Thistle. Yeah, there you go. And off we go into the next match, which got the main Survivor Series show off to a hot start when the deeply personal rivalry of SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch kicked off the show. The match began with vicious strikes from both women before spilling in and out of the ring, allowing Charlotte to take control by slamming Becky's shoulder into the ring post. As Charlotte moved to keep up her momentum, climbing the top turnbuckle for a moonsault, Becky struck quickly and pushed Flair off and crashing down outside of the ring. The match was fairly even from this point on, with, perhaps, a slight edge to Charlotte, but when it came down to it, it was a matter of who could play the dirtiest. The daughter of the dirtiest player in the game, Charlotte Flair, tried to steal a victory by holding the ropes during a roll-up pin, but she was caught by the referee and forced to release the pin. Becky rolled Charlotte over into a pin of her own, and with the referee in a different position, was able to get away with holding the ropes and get a 3 count to pick up the first win of the night for the Raw brand. So are we carrying the tradition from main roster to main event?
Yeah.
Drink for a roll-up. It's a good job that we're not on the alcohol because this show, a few roll-ups, just a few hundred of them.
Yes.
They only count if they get the victory. Otherwise, we'd have been drinking 4 or 5 times in this match.
Yeah.
This pretty much for me was everything I expected it to be. There was a lot of talk coming into it about how these women legitimately do not like each other anymore. That they have had a major falling out over the years. But they are each a consummate professional. And so you would expect that they would be able to put that aside, or at least channel that into having the best match possible. And I think that they succeeded.
Yeah.
There's an argument to be made that this was the match of the night, really.
Yeah, I'd definitely agree with that. I think it was the passion from both of them, of the passion of hatred, but I mean it's still a passion. They just wanted to beat the hell out of each other, so that's what, I
mean, if you are going into a match and your goal is to present the idea that you don't like the other person, it probably helps a great deal to not actually like
Yeah.
the other person. You don't have to act very much if you genuinely hate the person that you're standing across the ring from. So, yeah. Art imitates life, life imitates art. Good job there.
Did you see the interview Becky did afterwards?
I did not.
Very, very emotional. You go and watch it. It's only like a minute interview, but it was very emotional.
Yeah, I mean, she often gets the worst end of the stick when the conversation comes up of these two. Obviously, Charlotte Flair is the golden child and can do no wrong, despite the fact that she often does wrong and changes her face and attitude every 10 minutes, seemingly. So I'm personally glad that that Becky got the win here, and I've realised that I've got this the wrong way around on the
you've got it wrong
on the predictions. Well, I'll go ahead and fix that now and follow all the way through. I don't know how I managed to misread that, because I was going to say
to get the belt.
I'm personally glad that Becky Lynch won because it helps me, but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at all. No.
No.
So I'll go ahead and fix that. Hopefully that doesn't change things too terribly. We seem to be following the Raw and SmackDown pattern at the moment. That puts Raw on 1 and SmackDown on 1, and now puts me on 1 and you on 1.
Yes,
which is nice.
Tied up.
Tied up indeed.
Yes. So, shall we move on?
Let us. Yes.
While you fiddle.
Yes.
So the next contest was the first of 2 traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5 elimination matches with Team Raw, which was Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Austin Theory, and Seth Rollins, facing Team SmackDown, King Woods, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Happy Corbin. Kevin Owens fought hard to start the match against King Woods, but as the bell rang, Owens exited the ring and walked up the ramp, getting himself counted out and eliminated. Austin Theory stepped in to be Raw's true first entrant, eventually replaced by Finn Balor, who was isolated in the corner by Team SmackDown. Happy Corbin in the ring for SmackDown, things broke down a little with Balor taking advantage of the chaos by hitting coup de grace and eliminating Corbin, but to even the teams out. Next elimination came at the hands of the almighty Bobby Lashley, who speared King Woods and placed him in the Hurt Lock, passing the King out. Placing Woods was Drew McIntyre, renewing the old rivalry between these two former WWE champions. Their fight soon spilled out of the ring, and both men were too distracted with hitting each other to notice the referee's count, and both men were eliminated by countout. Before McIntyre left the ring, he was mocked by Seth Rollins and delivered a vicious Glasgow kiss, almost allowing Sheamus to pin Raw's team captain. Rollins tags in Balor, beginning an all-Irish battle that Sheamus got the better of, eliminating in with a bro kick. Now 2-on-2. Shockingly, each of the teams worked well together, but perhaps the biggest shock came in the form of Austin Theory rolling up Sheamus and pinning the veteran to eliminate him. Annoyed to have been eliminated, Sheamus turned on Hardy and clotheslined him down on the way out of the ring. Rollins tried to capitalize, hitting the frog splash on Hardy, but he was only able to get a near fall. Hardy hit the Swanton Bomb to eliminate Theory, but was unable to pick up the victory for his team after his swanton attempt on Rollins was countered and he got his knees up. Seth hit the stomp and pinned Hardy to be the sole survivor and put a W in the column for Team Raw.
Yes, I fixed it, I think. Find out in a minute. And speaking of knees up, Finite Project asks, can I borrow one of those belts tonight? Need to dress nice. I will tell you from personal experience that they're not very good at holding up your trousers.
Not good at holding up trousers.
No, they're not that kind of belt.
No.
I'm sure you can't go wrong though going out on the streets of Scotland with a championship belt over your shoulder. I'm sure that won't cause any confrontation
It
at
won't
all.
cause any problems at all.
So by all means, as long as you can provide some kind of proof of insurance for when you end up dead and I lose my championship belt, yeah, by all means, like borrow one, go for it. Now, lots to unpick from this first traditional Survivor Series match. First of all, what do you think of Kevin Owens?
Interesting.
Yeah,
kind of funny.
It was kind of funny, and it's the second year in a row that we've had shenanigans on Team Raw that has just eliminated somebody right at the start. So we had Kevin Owens just walk out this year, and that does happen quite a lot. It's happened a few times in history. And then was it last year that we had Seth Rollins just literally kneel down in the ring? And
that was when he was on Team SmackDown.
Was that Team SmackDown, was it?
Yeah,
So that was
he
2
knelt
years
down
ago.
and said for the greater good. Then Sheamus bro kicked him in the face.
So was that during the Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT one then?
No. It was just Raw and SmackDown.
Okay. I'm trying to work out how he was on SmackDown at the time and when that was, but I guess it might be more years than I realised since the NXT one. Maybe there's been 3 years since that.
He was... it was just after he was the Monday Night Messiah. They were trying to think up some stupid name for Friday Night SmackDown.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah, and he's just been drafted back to Raw, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's where I'm getting confused. Yeah. Makes sense now. I'm getting the brands mixed up where he's moved around so much in the last few years. But so he was on Raw, then he got drafted to SmackDown, was on the team then when he decided to just give up, and now he's back on Raw. Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm following now.
Yeah.
My brain has caught up. It only took a few years, but we get there.
Well done.
The point remains, it's nice to have these kind of parallels, because Seth Rollins didn't really bat an eyelid when Kevin Owens just walked out. He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I suppose that's one way of doing things." Okay,
yeah,
nice. We'll carry on then. And as the self-anointed captain of Team Raw, surprisingly had nothing to say, but also he kind of caused that in winding up Kevin Owens for the last few weeks and being a major part of the reason that he turned heel. So I suppose storyline wise he had absolutely no reason to complain. Austin Theory on the Raw team. I think he had a pretty good showing.
Yes,
he
did well.
It was fairly reminiscent of early Randy Orton Survivor Series showings, in that they're quite the same kind of character, just annoying young upstart who is going to wind his way up through the roster, generally picking up wins and having good moments. And it was nice to have another throwback to Rollins and Theory from that brief period where Austin Theory was Seth Rollins' disciple for like a week and a half before they decided that Austin Theory was not ready for the main roster yet and sent him back to NXT. But I think it's night and day, the difference now between that Austin Theory and this year's Austin Theory. So it was nice to see
there's a big difference,
that development happening. I think the biggest disappointment of this match for me was Happy Corbin.
Yeah.
Seems like all of the build to kind of reboot him and change up his character and become Happy Corbin instead of Baron Corbin, and then he was pretty much treated like he would have been when he was King Corbin or just straight up Baron Corbin a year before. Comes in, has a little bit of action, and then gets beaten fairly easily.
Yeah.
So that was slightly
disappointing.
Yeah. Although I will ask your opinion on this next person. I'm assuming it is slightly more disappointing for you. Jeff Hardy?
Yeah. Well, he had a few good moments.
Oh, I do as well. I thought he had a great match. I'm just wondering if you are disappointed that he didn't get the job done in the end, as it were.
It was kind of when it came down to like Jeff Hardy versus Seth Rollins, effectively, I was kind of thinking, come on, Jeff. Come on, Jeff. Then, obviously, Seth won, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Jeff Hardy fan, but I did find myself rooting for Jeff Hardy at the end of that match. Because I liked the story that they were building, and I think Jeff Hardy being the sole survivor would have been a neat moment. I don't know if he's ever been sole survivor on a Survivor Series team before. I feel like that is something that he has done. Perhaps in the mid to late 2000s before he went a bit off the rails, but I think it would have been a nice thing for his resume if he hasn't already done that.
It would have. Yeah, it would have.
But can't get nice things in WWE. You can only get
the
status quo and the norm and the boys getting their ticks next to their name.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was a good Survivor Series match.
Survivor Series match, yep.
Some of them are pretty damn boring, but this one was definitely entertaining. It was passable.
Yeah.
Got no real complaints about it.
Neither do I.
I will get to Future Wolfington's comment shortly. Just to keep scores updated, as I said, we're mirroring. That's a hard word to say. Mirroring the Survivor Series competition at the moment. It's Raw 2, SmackDown 1. I predicted victory for Team Raw, so it's a point for me. And it's now Jez 2, Dan 1. Just call me Monday Night Jez. and Friday Night SmackDown. No?
Yeah, no, I don't work.
Okay.
To be honest, I'd rather be Friday Night SmackDown at the moment.
Friday Night SmackDown?
Friday Night SmackDown? There you go. That'll do.
I'd rather Friday Night SmackDown, to be honest.
I'd rather just be Friday Night SmackDown in general.
It's probably a fun Friday night SmackDown, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Roman Reigns and his Universal thing, got the Bloodline.
I feel like you're obtusely missing my point, so I'm going to move on. Future Wolfington, in his quest to create a Formula One related wrestling gif, he's got Bottas as Jeff Hardy, right? Sadly, refacing him doing a swanton bomb is proving to be quite difficult. I would imagine it is. Yes.
Oh Christ.
Yeah. And it wasn't quite what I had in mind refacing. I wanted you to actually go and find the real Valtteri Bottas and the real Nikita Mazepin
and do a swanton bomb
and recreate this. Refacing wasn't wholly what I had in mind. Yeah, keep at it, Wolfie. Keep at it. Maybe you'll get there. And we move on to the match that we mentioned earlier. It was added in at the last moment, pre-pay-per-view. And that was the celebration of the 25th anniversary of the debut of The Rock. It had 25 superstars compete in a dual-banded battle royal. As the bell rung, AJ Styles left the ring to save himself for later. And this gets a bit frenetic now as we just run through the eliminations, basically. Omos eliminated Gulak, Benjamin, and Humberto Carrillo. Not that the commentators noticed that they eliminated Humberto Carrillo, and it completely threw out their count of how many people Omos had eliminated for the rest of the match. And they got it wrong even at the end. R-Truth made a beeline for the pizza that was at ringside, provided by Pizza Hut, in case that wasn't mentioned enough times that Pizza Hut had provided the pizzas from Pizza Hut. And he took the pizza into the ring to try and bribe Omos. Like it. It's a good plan. He did fail with Omos, but was successful with Otis. That was until he slapped Otis's ass and angered him. Otis then eliminated Truth before Otis was himself eliminated by Omos. And that pizza crew is done and dusted now. Cesaro eliminated Chad Gable. Ricochet eliminated T-Bar. Mansoor eliminated Cedric Alexander. Angel Garza, Jinder, Eric, and Ivar were then eliminated. Omos eliminated Shandy, whatever you want to call him. Mansoor tried to eliminate both Dirty Dogs at the same time, but was eliminated by them instead. Omos then eliminated Rude, and Styles finally returned to the ring with a phenomenal forearm to Ziggler and eliminated him. Dan's pick, Sami Zayn, tried to rally the troops, the 3 remaining SmackDown members of himself, Ricochet, and my pick, Cesaro, but the latter pair handed him to the Street Profits, who eliminated him. Omos then eliminated Aziz, who grabbed hold of AJ Styles outside the ring and pulled him over the top rope. This angered Omos, and he took out that anger on Apollo Crews, eliminating him, before he was quadruple teamed by Cesaro, Ricochet, and the Street Profits. Omos fought back and eliminated Cesaro and the Street Profits, leaving it 1-on-1 between him and Ricochet. Ricochet fought valiantly, but he was launched over the top rope by Omos, who won the Battle Royal for himself and for his brand of Monday Night Raw.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who are the pizzas supplied by?
I think they were Papa John's. There weren't really enough references to where the pizza had come from throughout the match for me to have a conclusion nailed down.
Yeah, I didn't know where they came from.
Yeah, that's some failed marketing there from WWE and Pizza Hut. Oops. I mean, whoever supplied the pizza should be upset with the poor job that they did in letting them know where the pizza is from. Papa John's is a Jez version of S tier. Yes, I agree. I'm not a fan of Papa John's.
You're not?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh.
I'm not sure where we had this conversation. I think it was just on my main channel. But you know that tiering system that people do?
Yeah.
And like S tier is the top.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. S stands for...
Take 1C.
Yeah, that. Yeah. And so, no, that isn't the best. S tier is the bottom. It's the poop tier, if you will.
The poop tier.
Yeah. So in the Jez ranking system, Papa John's is S tier.
What's the highest? Like A?
A, because that's how letters work.
Okay, what's yours for that?
What's before that? Nothing. A is the top.
What's your A?
Oh, my A pizza? Oh, my A pizza place probably is Pizza Hut, actually. I do like Pizza Hut.
Okay.
Either that or just one of the local places. There's some good pizza available locally as well. But yeah. If there is a tier below S tier and Papa John's, it's Domino's. I hate Domino's. It tastes like powder.
So Papa John's is S. Domino's is the FS.
Yeah, or the DS, the drizzling. Yeah.
FDS.
Damn you, Jez! How dare you? Well, have got their wish. This has turned into a pizza conversation rather than a conversation about this match. What did you think of the 25-man dual-branded Battle Royal in celebration of the 25th anniversary of The Rock?
It was a Battle Royal.
It was, yeah.
What I want to know is why didn't we pick Omos?
I was thinking that when as soon as we stepped into the match and the Omos was stood there, I'm like, I have done screwed up here. Yes,
why
it was
did we
obviously
forget about
going to be Omos.
Why did we forget about the big giant guy that beats everyone up?
Giant guy that Vince has obviously got a rock on for. Yeah. Domino's
it was
3D. Pizza Hut through a table. No, it wouldn't. It would try to, but its grip would be so powdery that it would drop Pizza Hut, and then Pizza Hut would give it a Stone Cold Stunner and walk off and have a beer.
Yeah, I haven't had like a mainstream pizza place in ages because we have some, as you've said, around your way. We've had some good like local pizza places. So.
Yeah. Can't think Pizza Hut was the most recent pizza I had. Pizza Hut is I'm feeling massively depressed and I'm just going to order takeaway. There's nothing cheers you up like spending like 40 quid on pizza.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like putting yourself into debt to get some pizza. That's really good for depression, isn't it?
I bet.
Yeah. So
anyway,
in a case of womp womp, neither of us predicted the true winner of the battle royal. So the score remains the same for us: 2 to me, 1 to you. But Raw gets another point, so it's Raw 3, SmackDown 1.
Raw romping away because they know SmackDown is superior at the moment.
Yeah. The competition itself does not really reflect true life.
No. So, carrying on. Our next champion versus champion matchup, the Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro took on SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos. Randy Orton celebrating being involved in more WWE pay-per-view matches than anyone in history. The Usos tried to keep him out of the ring and isolated Riddle away from his partner. Riddle got a brief reprieve, but tags himself back into the match fairly quickly and was once again double teamed by the Usos. Orton tried to intervene in the double super kick, but found himself double super kicked before Riddle met the same fate anyway. Riddle kicked out at 2.5. The Usos went for the kill, but Riddle sent Jay into the ring post and tagged in Orton. Jimmy didn't notice the tag and so was surprised by an RKO when he went for the Uso splash from the top rope. Orton pinned Jimmy Uso to pick up another win for Team Raw.
So that's now Raw 4, SmackDown
Raw 4.
1, Raw 4. The 4 Rawsmen. I'll get my coat.
Right.
So
yes, please.
I'm very, very glad that they actually mentioned this landmark, this milestone for Randy Orton of having competed in more pay-per-view matches for WWE than anybody else in history.
177 or something like that?
I don't know the actual number because the main reason I'm glad is because I came into the weekend not knowing what the hell Randy Orton's milestone was. I saw on Twitter John Cena saying, "Congratulations to Randy Orton on this fantastic milestone." I'm like, what fantastic milestone? What are you talking about, John? So I press on the tweet and look at some of the comments to see if people actually explain what John Cena's talking about. No, it's just a load of people being useless and like gifs of Roman Reigns smiling and like John Cena in the NWO get up from the Firefly Funhouse match. I'm like, you're all useless. Thanks for nothing, Twitter. I would like the actual information. I went to Randy Orton's Twitter. He hadn't spoken about it yet. So I'm like, right, okay, cool. And then I promptly forgot until watching Survivor Series. So I am glad that somebody had the common sense to actually point this out live on television, because it would have been so WWE to not actually celebrate their own milestones and landmarks. And kudos to him. I think of everybody in WWE past and present, I do feel like Randy Orton has had the best longevity in terms of keeping his character fresh and mixing things up, with the exception perhaps of Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho's not in WWE anymore. I would be interested to know what Jericho's number is. Was it Jericho that he overtook? Was it Cena?
It was Kane. It was Kane he overtook.
Okay, all right.
I wonder if I can. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho.
Pay-per-view matches.
Pay-per-view record.
But the match itself did not go the way that either of us predicted. We both thought that the
So,
Usos would win. And as I was sat there watching the match, I'm like, oh, I've done screwed up here as well. Of course, RK Bro are going to win.
yeah.
And I think they deserve the win. I'm still so enjoying what they're doing. I do think it's going to be a team that we can enjoy for quite some time. I'm just wondering when they're going to ruin it.
They're going to ruin it at some point. You know they are.
It's going to
You know
happen.
they are.
Probably leading into WrestleMania for them to
they are.
have a match at WrestleMania, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, still 2-1 for our competition because neither of us got the point there.
No. I can't find Chris Jericho's record.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Never mind.
Well, we'll have another conversation about that at some point. Probably at the next pay-per-view when Randy Orton adds the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But nothing much else to say about the tag team match from me, other than it was a good match and I enjoyed it.
Yep. Same here.
Cool.
Moving on.
Moving on, indeed. So, our final traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5 elimination match saw Team Raw of Carmella, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Queen Zelina, and Bianca Belair take on the team of SmackDown's Toni Storm, Natalya, Shotzi Blackheart, Shayna Baszler, and Sasha Banks. Carmella started the match, but realised that she wasn't wearing her protective mask, so she quickly tagged in Queen Zelina. When Carmella got back onto the apron, she tagged herself back in, but as she tried to get the mask on, Toni Storm rolled her up and eliminated her. That's a drink, bear that in mind. As each team tagged in and out and competed fairly evenly, Shotzi dragged her own teammate, Sasha Banks, from the ring apron and left her laying at ringside. Banks recovered, though, and got into a long session with old rival Bianca Belair before the pair tagged out to Toni Storm and Queen Zelina, respectively. From here, Toni picked up her second elimination of the match, pinning Zelina before being eliminated herself by Liv Morgan. Morgan tried to make the tag to her team after being worn down by Shayna Baszler, but she was unable and was pinned by Sasha Banks after a blind tag and a frog splash. With the teams now 4-2 in favour of SmackDown, Rhea Ripley took over the match, but after being triple teamed, she was pinned by Baszler, leaving Bianca Belair all by herself. When all seemed lost for Belair, infighting got the better of Team SmackDown and caused Sasha Banks to be counted out. Bianca kept fighting and was able to eliminate Shayna Baszler and Natalya in quick succession, evening the score and leaving her 1-on-1 with Shotzi. After hitting a KOD on Blackheart, Belair made the pin to overcome insurmountable odds and win for Team Raw as sole survivor. Mixed bag for me, this match. It wasn't as good as the men's Survivor Series match, and I think the crowd made that very clear when a few minutes in they had resorted to Mexican waving instead of paying attention to the match. And mega kudos to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for actually bringing them back round, because they were sat on their hands, then they were Mexican waving, and then they were actually out of their seats cheering for both women and doing back and forth chants, not deciding who to cheer for. So that was cool that they were able to turn that around. Testament to how good both of those women are. The Carmella bit at the beginning. What did you think of that?
Meh.
I mean, it was nonsense, wasn't it?
Was it the fact that the women at ringside who normally put a mask on couldn't actually get it on her? That's why she didn't put it on, or was it?
Well, it's that they wanted to do the spot where she couldn't get it on properly. So rather than do the thing they always do, which is the people at ringside put it on her and then she comes back to the match, they botched it and then allowed Carmella to be rolled up and pinned. So the whole thing was contrived, and I hate that. I hate when
there is that.
They change the way things normally are just to try and get a spot in. Like, if you were going to do that, maybe you put it on loose, and then as she gets up onto the apron, it slides down or something.
Yeah.
And then she gets rolled up because she's trying to fix it,
Yeah.
or she's trying to get someone to help her.
Yeah.
But to just go, oh no, we forgot to do it up. Oh no, now I'm rolled up and now I am rolled up and pinned. That's a drink. Cheers. Yeah, it was nonsense. Utter nonsense. And it took away a lot of the enjoyment of the match for me, as I think it did the thousands of people in attendance in Brooklyn. Who was your highlight of this match?
Not sure really. There's quite a few bits I liked. Like I quite like the Shotzi Sasha Banks bit. They still going at it.
Mm.
You know, in fact, Shotzi pulled her off the apron.
Yeah.
Thought, keep it going.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about that was that Sasha Banks didn't retaliate to it in any way, shape, or form. And you can say, oh, it's because she was the team captain and she was a team player, but that doesn't match anything that we know about Sasha Banks, the character. She would retaliate. If we were following this through in a logical way based on the characters that we've been presented, she would have at least smacked her or got in her face and told her to cut it out. But she did nothing. And then when she was counted out because the other ladies kept pulling her out of the ring, that was pretty funny. I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel like Sasha Banks bringing the crowd around aside was fairly weak in this match.
Yeah.
I think my joint standouts were Toni Storm.
Yep.
I thought she had a really good showing in this match and developed quite nicely. They gave her 2 eliminations, which is great for your first official Survivor Series. I mean, I know she was there for Team NXT a few years ago. And also to Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
To give someone the accolade of coming back from 4 down, to be able to then gain a victory, I think is a good feather in someone's cap. And they're building her as like a Survivor Series champion in the same way that we've had Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler being the people that you have on your Survivor Series teams, because they always win. They always win at Survivor Series. I think you can probably put Bianca Belair in that category now as well. Ironically, neither team had Randy Orton or Dolph Ziggler in their teams, even though they always win. But I guess they had other things to do, like tag team champion versus tag team champion match. That's fine. And pointless battle royal. Okay, maybe not that one, but
we'll gloss over that one.
Yeah. Just ignore the fact that we've forgotten why Dolph Ziggler's Dolph Ziggler. That's WWE often do. So really running away with it now is Raw. 5 to them. SmackDown still on their only victory that came. It didn't come on the main Survivor Series show. It came on the pre-show. They haven't won at the actual Survivor Series show so far. And Team Raw was my prediction.
Yep.
And so it's 3-1 to me now.
3-1.
Which really doesn't bode well for you, considering I was already 3 ahead. And there's only 1 match left.
Yeah, all right. Well, before we get to that match...
I can hardly contain myself. Go on.
Yeah, I know. The competition between Raw and SmackDown wasn't all we got at Survivor Series. In addition to picked up related fun in the Battle Royal earlier in the night and cross promotion with The Rock's new film, Red Notice, WWE Chairman Vince McMahon arrived with an egg, Cleopatra's egg, given to him by The Rock. His office, Vince tried to wow Roman Reigns with the egg that apparently cost him $100 million. But Roman just quibs that would be the value of his next contract. Later in the night, Adam appears at Sonya Deville were in Vince's office when he noticed the egg was missing.
Dun dun dun.
Exactly. Vince vowed to find the culprit, and if he couldn't do it so tonight, he would do it so the next night on a Raw.
Yes, and so obviously, when I watch that, I'm like, right, Raw is now must see. I cannot miss Raw. I've got to know who stole the egg. It's just top of my priorities now to find out who stole the egg. I haven't watched Raw. Have you watched Raw?
Yeah.
Was there any further developments in Egggate 2021?
It's all finished.
Oh yeah, okay. Go on, give us a précis.
Well, you want to know who did it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's try it this way. Guess who did it. A random guess. It is a WWE superstar. Have a random guess
on the current roster.
The current roster.
Well, that should narrow it down. There's only 3 people on the current roster. Okay, so I'm going to assume it was
on Raw.
I was going to say, I assume it's a Raw superstar, being that they paid it off on Raw, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it was R-Truth.
No.
Oh.
I'll give you one more guess.
Okay. I'm going to say it was Kevin Owens.
No.
Okay. Put me out my misery, man.
It was Austin Theory.
My guesses were way better.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact reason, but he said the reason was he wanted a selfie with the egg. So he took it out, then he panicked and took it with him. And he brought it back next night. And then Vince McMahon was fine with it. So he awarded Austin Theory WWE Championship match.
Oh yeah, okay.
Raw.
Right. Oh my god. And I think this just exemplifies perfectly why we have ditched discussion of Raw and SmackDown each week. In case we had any doubts in our mind why we were moving to pay-per-view only. Thanks, guys. Wonderful.
It just solidified it.
I assume this was all Vince's idea. Did he actually think that anyone would care about this at all? Anyone? A single person in the world? Like, he must have thought they would. But
he must have thought someone in the world have gone, oh my god, they've stolen the egg. Oh my god. Need to start our own detective agency to find this out.
Even
blatantly a movie prop.
The arrival of the egg was so tongue-in-cheek. Even he was like, "It's an egg," and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's an egg," and he's like, "No, it's an egg," and they're like, "Ooh, an egg! Ooh, egg!" I'm like, "Oh, for God's sake, this is even worse than your usual bullshit." Yeah. Sorry, I dropped a swear.
I will say, Red Notice is a not bad film.
Have you watched it?
I've watched it.
I mean, I'm sure the film is fine. Like, it's a film with The Rock in it, and The Rock is good in films. I just hope he stays there, and I don't want this Roman Reigns Rock thing that is being teased a lot at the moment. Don't want it. It's not for me.
Anyway.
Yeah, so thanks
Speaking of Roman Reigns.
Thanks for that time filler, WWE, but we will move on to the main event. I would have rathered that 10 minutes we spent on this was added to this main event, because it was a pretty good main event in which the tribal chief, the head of the table, the Universal WWE Champion Roman Reigns, looked to salvage some dignity for SmackDown when he took on Raw's champion Big E. The match began fairly traditionally with a test of strength before the pair went back and forth. Big E tried to show his hand early with a big splash on the apron, but Reigns moved out of the way and Big E hurt his knee. After a drive-by, Reigns got back into the ring and continued to wear down the WWE Champion. Reigns did so for a period, but Big E was able to fight back and go on his own offensive after a massive Uranagi. Reigns then channeled his cousin, The Rock, who hadn't come up at all previous to that moment in this night, and hit the rock bottom but Big E kicked out. Even though Big E retaliated with a dirty-looking spear from the apron to the floor, Reigns hit a spear of his own inside the ring, but again was only able to get a 2 count. Big E went for the apron spear again, but Reigns prevented it with a guillotine through the ropes before getting back into the ring and locking in the guillotine properly. Big E countered, hit the big ending, and went for the win, but the head of the table stayed alive in the match by grabbing the bottom rope. Big E went for blood, bouncing Roman off various parts of the ringside area, but back in the ring, Reigns surprised Big E with a kick to the back of the previously injured knee and hit a spear to pick up the first win on the main pay-per-view for SmackDown.
Yeah.
But too little, too late. Final score from Survivor Series. Raw 5, SmackDown 2.
Oh dear.
Yes, so that's 2 in a row for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And 2 in a row of years where that is not at all the case. SmackDown is the much better show than Raw. But
and they didn't actually have a tally of who was winning.
No, as often takes place, they don't actually follow through with it's the battle for brand supremacy. So who won then? Raw, I think, maybe. I don't know. Didn't keep count. But when you've got Michael Cole counting and he misses eliminations in the Battle Royal and then just rabbits the entire match about how Omos has eliminated this number of people. No, it's that plus 1 because you missed one. Yeah, you really should pay attention if you're going to do this. And why nobody in Michael Cole's ear said, no, you missed one, you're being a moron.
Yeah.
Nobody is paying attention. Nobody. But as far as our prediction is concerned, you picked Roman Reigns. I picked Big E. I did not think that they would put Roman Reigns over Big E this soon into Big E's championship reign, but I was flat out wrong, and they did.
You are.
And I'm not sure that it makes any sense, but there we have it. Final score from Survivor Series for us is Jez 3, Dan 2, and 2 matches that neither of us got right. Which, excitedly for me, brings quarter to a close with a final score of, drumroll, Jez 20, Dan 16. And new main event podcast champion, this guy.
If only there's a way I could just literally just go and...
That would be cool, wouldn't it? I'd be like that.
Just show it all, really.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, I'm glad. So glad to have won it back, if that wasn't clear.
It has been a while.
It has, yeah. Because
half a year.
Yeah, you held it 2 quarters in a row, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's been like 6 months. So
yeah, you retained it fairly easily in the first quarter. I think that was over before it even started.
Yeah.
And then this quarter has been competitive. For it to be a difference of 4 matches.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been that many pay-per-views, but for a difference of 4 matches, I think that's wonderful competition. Very well fought. Thank you for your service. We move into a new quarter of competition now, which will be even more interesting because it will be a mix of wrestling events from all kinds of promotions, some of which at least one of us has not watched in years. When was the last time you watched Impact Wrestling?
I can't remember.
I watched a little bit of a show at the beginning of the year. Enough to know that
nearly at the end of the year.
Yeah. I didn't even finish that show. I watched enough of it to know that Matt Stryker and D'Lo Brown are now the commentary team.
Right.
Which obviously you're going to thoroughly enjoy, as Matt Stryker is your favourite commentator. And I knew that there was a period in which Kenny Omega was the Impact World Champion because he carried the belt onto
I knew that.
AEW, and then Christian was Impact World Champion because he, won it on AEW. But I think now Christian's lost it.
I think, is it Moose?
I think Moose has won the championship. Moose. Yeah. So
you see,
yeah, that's a bit of Impact Wrestling that we'll be predicting, and who knows. We've got. Should we just have a little quick chat about the calendar before we round up Survivor Series? So our next show will be on Tuesday, December the 7th. And we'll be reviewing NXT TakeOver War Games, which takes place the Sunday prior to that. And that'll be it for December. That's all we've got. And then in January, January looks to be fairly busy. We'll begin on January the 4th, when we review WWE Day 1, their New Year's Day show. And then the following week, January the 11th, we'll be reviewing Impact Hard to Kill from the January the 8th, the Saturday event. And then I would assume that AEW Revolution will either be end of January or beginning of February.
Yeah.
Because that's when it normally is. But they haven't announced the date yet.
No.
Which is interesting. Maybe it isn't going to be at that time of the year. Who knows?
Maybe not. Who knows?
And then obviously we've got, as always, the Royal Rumble at the end of January as well.
Yes.
So January fairly busy. December not so much. Maybe we'll squeeze in a retro main event podcast at some point in December just to get another one in there. Yeah, just to do some stuff, play the video graphics. Got to get out there somehow. So, as we always do on this podcast, it's now time to give a final rating to WWE Survivor Series 2021. And on this day, Dan, I ask you to give me a rating out of 5 $100 million eggs.
I thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. There's a few down parts, like the Royal. Else was there? The women's Survivor Series match wasn't amazing compared to, like, say, the men's.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give it 3.5.
Well, you have plucked the number directly from my mind, because 3.5 is where I am going as well. Solid start in the pre-show and the opening 2 matches, the women's champions versus champion match and the men's Survivor Series match. Cracking beginning, and then we got off the rails with eggs and the Battle Royal. The Battle Royal was fine, but it didn't need to be there. So that takes away from me. You lose points for that. The tag team match was cool. That was fine. Then it came back down again with the women's match, which had some bright spots, but was mostly bad. Then there's more egg nonsense, and the main event was pretty good, but I think the wrong person won, so it loses points for that. 3.5 seems fair to me.
There we go.
That's $3.5 million worth of egg.
Wow.
Or $500 million of egg.
Wow.
Future Wolfton, I believe you two should stream a match on some WWE video game to determine the next podcast champ. Well, that was the plan if we tied. Yeah, we did discuss what would happen if we tied, and it would have been create characters and let them let loose on
let them have at it.
I think it was SmackDown versus Raw 2008 I used to settle the score between Lil Cute Girl 86 and Rooster Beast at the end of the last quarter. So maybe one day it will happen.
One day.
If there's some kind of grudge that needs to be settled, perhaps the video game
just do it for fun.
will do it. Yeah, or we can just get together and punch each other in the field, whatever, whatever we need.
I work at a stable, so come on, we've got plenty of fields.
Yeah, but I'm twice your size through consumption of pies, so.
Yeah, but I've got loads of weapons.
Yeah. Wait, I never thought about it, but is there a fantasy wrestling similar to football, etc.? There isn't. It's something that I've thought about doing.
You do that.
Yeah, I did have a whole system in my head of how it would work and how points would be scored, but it also is a lot of work to administer it, and I don't have that kind of time. So if Future Wolfington, you're volunteering to run that, then hit me up, man. I think time is the only barrier, really.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. I'm a game designer. Let's chat about it sometime. Bish, bash, bosh. Let's use technology to make it work.
Yeah.
I love it. And this has been the end of the first episode of the Main Event podcast. The 81st episode in the general chronology. And it's been good. Thank you for joining me, Dan. Thanks to everyone that has tuned in, wherever you have tuned in, or even if you are tuning in later in audio form, wherever you get your podcasts. You are truly appreciated. And it's been wonderful to host you. We will see you in a couple of weeks for War Games!
War Games!
And until then, I have been Jez.
And I've been Dan.
And this has been the Main Event podcast. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye. Pass that.
Whatever.